Yeah, you're right. It is that low.
So disconnected. We're connected, but we're so disconnected from people around us. I wanted to make something that
It's always a pleasure seeing you, man. Congrats on everything. Now, with the new season of Shy, how has it been, juggling everything and your new album, Connection too?
Oh man, it's crazy. It's chaotic, but when you love what you do, you make time for it. So.
Now, with this new film, what made you want to be a part of it, and what can fans expect when they see it?
Oh man, they're gonna just expect a lot more drama, deeper situations, high risk, and yeah, more. It's gonna be way more human.
Oh, that's all of it here. It's go. Sorry about that.
So, first of all, Nabil, I want to thank you so much for bringing the film to Tribeca. We're really honored to host the world premiere. And as I had mentioned in the beginning, you've done so much work in so many different spaces. You've been a photojournalist, you've made short films, you've made documentaries. What was it about this screenplay that called to you to make this your narrative feature debut?
Everything about it. This is Marcus, the writer of the film. He's a wild ass special person who's out there, and I felt what he wrote, and I just wanted to bring it to fruition the best I could.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and this is for you and for Marcus and also for the cast actually, I mean, I think there's such a powerful theme of how trauma can unite people. And I thought maybe Marcus, you might want to speak on that, or anything else that you...
Well, that was everyone. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes.
Corey, where you at? Come on, Corey.
Where's Corey's man?
Where's Alex?
There he is.
Come on, bro.
Wrote this a long time ago. And if you feel uncomfortable right now, you should.
Yes.
The subject matter, the people involved, the environments that you do not hear in the news are what you saw. The idea of people, particularly young black men, and also people in the hood in general, I throw Charlie in there with that, experiencing trauma and how we process that with self-medication, with sensationalized violence, be it from technology, from pharmaceuticals, from the concept and idea of ourselves. This was the idea of going into it. The form of storytelling that you saw was a direct reflection on, hopefully, in terms of accuracy, how our very young people today process the world. If it feels weird, if it feels different, if it's not, oh, this isn't 3-act structure. It's because our children and our young people do not live a 3-act structure life. I think that our cast did a fantastic job.
Yes.
Give it up to them.
Yes.
I think that our producers have a lot of cojones in an era where we need to give everyone an entertainment prepackaged meals. This wasn't that. not feel as though they're dead.
And I think, as you said, I mean, I think this trio of actors truly embodied that in such an amazing way.
Yes.
And I do want to ask you all about that, because these performances are knockouts, and they're very, very obviously difficult to pull off. First of all, Kelvin, you know, to do what you did in this film and be dialogue free and have that level of emotion and be able to carry this film where you have. Can you talk a little bit about your process here and just what you brought on screen? Because I think everyone can agree that it holds it.
Yes.
Thank you. I guess what drew me to the project in the first place was the sense of community and these kids trying to find the levity in an unfortunate situation. So jumping into it was a lot of conversations with Bill about, you know, what was the backstory and how do we get there, and I think a lot of it was bonding with Charlie and Jacob and making sure that we allow ourselves to trust each other and bare our souls to each other and find our own form of communication. And once that happens, then we can kind of translate it on the screen and then add the other layers of specificity to it. So that's pretty much, that was my process.
And Jacob and Charlie, if you want to add anything.
I think for me this was pretty spiritually draining for me. When I met these guys, it kind of made me feel better, like more at home with it. I was just like, I think we tried to do as much hanging out as possible, because we only had maybe a few days before filming to really kind of hang out and get to know each other. So like, I think the first night we were just like at Kelvin's house. I like crashed on his floor, and like we became friends like instantly, like really, really fast, and like went to amusement parks to try to just do it. We did everything together. We together in this film, so we got to be together like in real life as well. And I think I did about 4 or 5 audition tapes before I booked this role, and I knew I really wanted it. It was really challenging. Had a lot of different levels and very intense for me, and just a lot. You know what I mean? Kelvin went through a lot, or Calvin. I'm sorry, Calvin. Calvin went through a lot in this film, and yeah, I just wanted to bring it to life, and because I think it all started for all of us with the script. The script was just, the writing was incredible, and you know, we wanted to have a voice for, you know, people who don't have a voice. And I'm just happy to be a part of this one. This is my first time seeing it today, so
Wow.
This is dope. This is dope.
Charlie, did you want to add anything?
Charlie doesn't like to talk.
Come on, Charlie.
In terms of the process for me, I mean, it really started with the script. I think it's such a beautiful script, and there's so much going on in it, and then just mostly my discussions with Nabil, and then really just these two guys. I think I knew right out the gate, like if this didn't work, then you know, the whole thing wouldn't. And so I think that was really the priority. And then also just for me, because I personally come from such a different background in my own life, I was really just trying to get as much of a sense of what it is like to have that environment be your everyday life. And that's not something I'll ever be able to understand, but my hope was that I could at least be able to listen as much as I could and just pick up on what everybody around us was giving us and use that.
Yeah. All right, we want to give the
Community. I taught school in New Orleans in 8th grade. CJ, in the MacMel projects in that area. Worked in a group home in Seattle. My first novel was about young boys in the South. One of the themes in a lot of my writing for the past 20 years was how do young black men process love for each other. We've seen a lot of exacting violence and allegiances, but how do we show love, and particularly when our love and our friendship is challenged? So over some time, I had encountered various young men who had had some extreme problems. Sexual predators were in our communities for a long time, and no one would say anything about it. No one would speak on it. Children would go missing, and it wouldn't make the news. My sister, who's a playwright and writer as well here, O'Neill fellow playwright Letitia, her first play was about a single black mother whose young boy went missing, and no one seemed to care but her. And so the idea of Jesse was the idea of a kid who's kept. And after I started doing research, we started to discover that all of the stories, experiences that you saw, not only have happened, but are happening right now in this city and many cities across the world. How we react to that then becomes, what do you do with this angst? They're not drug dealers. They're not gangbangers. They're not rappers. They're not athletes. So then, who gives a fuck, right? I gave a fuck. The bill gave a fuck. The producers gave a fuck. That's how we got there.
To the characters and then come back out of it to their actual lives.
Well, my family, I come from a real spiritual background. So my grandfather, my grandparents, my uncles, my father, so they're real. They heavy in the church. You know, they church folks. So for me, I think I had to kind of just sort of really immerse myself in my family and just like talk to them a lot and be around just good energy before we started filming. This was like maybe a week before, you know, and I remember every day I was just like, when they say cut, it's a wrap. You know, leave Calvin on set. You know, don't try to. It was hard not to be method with this one because this is probably a role where I had to go completely out of myself, literally. Like, this was nothing like me at all. So it was, but in ways in my personal life, it kind of helped me be a little more confident with my appearance and my personality a little bit in certain ways. But it was I was just trying to keep it on set for the most part. It was hard to go back home and not, you know, because I had to rehearse for the next day. So it's like, but it was definitely tough. I think really just surrounding myself around good people and just uplifting like spirits, you know what I mean? Because it can drain you down for sure. Charlie, say something.
You know, I think we definitely. I mean, you know, it was a pretty quick shoot, but I think the tone was definitely like, at least I felt for the three of us, was that we wanted to throw everything we could into it. And so, at least for me, you know, that was really just about living that and trying to understand that and watch it grow over time. And I think it definitely does. And now watching the movie, especially, getting to see that. But honestly, it was so much about just spending time with each other. I think that really helped so much because, you know, as I think they showed in the film, you know, a lot of it is really, really dark and intense, heavy, but there's a lot of joyful moments as well. And making sure that we were able to have those, I thought was pretty important.
For me, it was, I kind of shared somewhat of a similar story to Jesse, so then it's kind of like me dealing with demons from the past and handling it in a way with perspective and kind of approaching it with these guys and, you know, having that sense of community once again. It helps you kind of go in and check yourself and then walk back out and kind of go, this is real life. And this is your therapy session. And then you get a therapist after the movie, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I want to thank you all once again for all the brilliant work that was done on this film.
Yes.
Tribeca, we thank you.
Yes.
Thank everyone for coming out tonight, and please do not forget the film is eligible for the Audience Award, so make sure you download that Tribeca app now while you're in this building and vote for Gully tonight. Thanks.
If we can get everybody, I just heard them as well. Here we go. All right, here we go. Get once more. All right.